There we go.
All right, all right, all right. Looks like we finally made it to our first episode. Man, there's a whole lot to unpack, and there's a lot of people that just dying to hear your story because they were fans of the show, stuff like that. There's people that have asked me that I know now that want to hear my story that don't know anything about me, and I didn't look up anything about you either, by the way, about your past or anything. So this is all going to be, we're going to be literally telling each other this for the first time. So I think that's going to be pretty exciting. So I was thinking earlier, I remember the first time that I ever let my grandparents or my mom, I ever let them down, and I said a cuss word. I think I was 12, and it was the S word. I just kind of said it like that, and he looked at me. He said, "What did you just say?" And he wasn't mad or fussing, but I could tell that it disappointed him. You know what I mean? And I said right then, I was like, I'll never disappoint my grandparents or my mom ever again. And I was 12, and I didn't until after later on, when I was probably 18 or 19, I started kind of acting the fool and kind of led into, I was already kind of partying, and then my jaw got broken in 2008. And I just kind of used that as a crutch for a long time because I'd already tried pain pills. I'd already tried them a couple times, and, I liked the results, but I wasn't actively using every day. But when my jaw got broken and I got prescribed all that stuff, I was like, oh, heck yeah, dude. Yes. I was depressed because my mouth was wired shut. I couldn't talk for 5 weeks, so I couldn't go to the gym, couldn't do anything. So I was just drinking my little liquid pain medicine and just trying to numb everything and, feel better. And that turned into about 11-year long hardcore opiate addiction. It did. So what do you remember about yours as far as, I guess kind of take us back to where it started?
Yeah, definitely my biggest battle was with opiates. And it's funny that you say that you had liquid, because that was my intro into opiates as well. I had my tonsils out in my 20s, and they must have gave me like a gallon jug of liquid oxycodone. And I had sworn my whole life I will never do pills, because I had seen what they'd done to different family members. And I'm like, nope. Even when I had a baby and stuff, like I did not take any pain meds, like my first daughter. I didn't want to do it. So that was my intro into pain pills. But I mean, I started using when I was 16 years old. Some things happened at home, and I ended up being homeless, and kind of just like had nothing to lose,
Yeah.
Out of school, and ended up living in a meth lab. Like, it was pretty crazy. And I don't know if you've ever tried how it
Yeah.
was back then,
Unfortunately.
completely different drug than it is today. It's not even the same thing. Uh,
Well, yeah, it's mixed with a bunch of stuff now.
it was a completely different, like, chemical back then. And doing it at 16, I'm very lucky that I lived, with how skinny I got, how bad the hallucinations got. I mean, it was really, really terrible.
That's scary stuff, And then the drug use in kids now, it's rampant. Kids are using at a younger and younger age now, and it's really scary.
Yeah.
So the first time I ever went to a treatment center, I was I think there was 50 people there, and this was in 2000, around 2009. But the first time I ever went, and out of the 50 guys there were probably only, I don't know, it was maybe half and half, alcoholics and half opiates, pills, stuff like that. As I went back, I went several times, less people were doing other stuff, and everybody was doing opiates pretty much. And there weren't hardly any alcoholics or anything anymore. And all the kids were young. They were all 18, 19, 20-year-olds, all of them. And that they had been actively using for 5 or 6 years. That blows my mind that it's gotten that bad. Something's got to be done about, I know now the doctors don't give it out like they used to. So that's a big plus, but they did for a long time. It was very easy.
It is a plus, but then, like, I watched my mom and her struggles, like with chronic pain. She's had multiple hip replacements. She's getting ready to have a knee replacement surgery, and she has to fight so hard to get pain medication.
Yeah,
So
now they under prescribe, don't they?
yeah. So it's hard for me to watch her suffer, but in the same sense, it's like, well, good, they're cutting down on it. But now the people that actually,
So what
yeah.
about whenever you went on the show? So were you leading up to the show? Had you been sober for a while? Because I know you were doing all the gun stuff and all that. That's how they discovered you, right? With Naked and Afraid was your gun stuff.
So, my little stint when I was younger with drugs only lasted about a year. And then I had 14 years of sobriety. I was still like, when I got out of the meth and that whole drug world, and that's another story for another time. That was just a whole experience being so young and being in that world. But
Yeah.
I just switched one thing for another. I went straight into alcohol. And from like 18 until the age of, I don't know, 32, there wasn't one weekend that went by that I didn't get blackout drunk, like every single weekend, blackout drunk. I mean, it was a problem. It was so, so bad. And the surgery with my tonsils happened in my early 20s. And so that's when I kind of started getting into opiates. But I didn't know, like, I wasn't interested in trying to go find, I wasn't interested in like anything like that. So I would just like put myself in the hospital and try to get pain meds that way through the ER. I would like, dude, I used to steal like prescription pills out of people's cabinets. Like I was a piece of crap. You know what I mean? Like it was, I mean, it was recreational in a sense that it wasn't like daily use and I needed to go, check myself in somewhere. I mean, I probably should have, but it didn't get spun out of control until in my 30s. So going into Naked and Afraid, I wasn't like needing to detox off anything. I was pretty much just a recreational user at that point.
So with the Naked and Afraid thing, if you're prescribed different medications, can you take them or no? How does that work? Like if you have to take blood pressure pills, do you get to take them on the show or?
I would think so. They do a pretty intense medical screening as you're going through the casting process, but I wasn't taking anything.
You
I
didn't have
mean,
to
I would
worry about
imagine if you had something like life or death you had to take, they're going to administer that for you,
it.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not sure. There's also a very intense psychological questionnaire, and you have to sit down with a psych to like
Nah,
clear you, which I don't know how my partner on the first one got cleared of that with the things that he did and said, and even
that's
the
what
things.
my wife was saying. She said, yeah, she had her partner wasn't the best one. She's so nice about.
And they didn't even air all the things that he was saying. Like on his diary cam, he was saying like he was having thoughts of going on a shooting spree. He was having thoughts of children. And so when it shows the part, yeah, when it shows the part of me like breaking down crying because he left, it's because I was just informed by my medic that he had said that about having thoughts of children. And coming from that happened to me as a child, and I'm alone with this guy naked at night, I broke down. I was angry. I was upset. That's why I said my life has been destroyed by people like him. And they never elaborated on that, on why I said that, why I was so upset. They just thought I was upset because he left. I was glad he left. I was so stoked he left.
I
But
imagine
but
so.
learning what he had said, it was like, oh my gosh, how could you
And he
guys
was,
leave me out here with somebody like that? What did he say to the psych? Who's the psychologist? Like, really? You cleared this dude
gee,
to go
man.
through? It was just it was awful. And the medic, he got fired for telling me.
Fired for telling you. I mean,
Because the producer comes in and he's like, all right, we've narrowed it down to it was either this person or this person that shared that with you, and one of them's getting fired. So you need to let me
dang.
know who it was. And the one person that they thought it might have been, she travels with them. She's worked for them for years and years and years. And it wasn't her. She's actually employed by Naked and Afraid. The medic was just like a contract for that specific episode. So I'm like, well, it wasn't her. So
Yeah.
they put me in such a messed up position.
Yeah, I bet. So what, how old were you when you went on Naked and Afraid?
Let's see, it was 2015. So I was about, what, like 27?
So when you got off, then I guess you went back on the other. Yeah, so you went on the Naked and Afraid. It's pretty close together. But then a couple years later, that's when the addiction started. Was a few years after Naked and Afraid, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I got married pretty quickly after I got back from Africa from the second filming. And that whole, I mean, I don't even think I was sober when we got married. I think I was actually taking Xanax when we got married. And every other time after that, I was either popping pills or I was drinking. I wasn't sober like any of the time. And so it was a really rough marriage. I take most of the responsibility for how that went. He ended up leaving. He has not seen his son since then. So it was really, really hard when he left. And it didn't make anything better. I ended up just continuing to spiral. And then I started dating somebody else because I figured, just fill that void with someone else. Don't fill it with Jesus like I should have done this whole time. I ended up getting pregnant about 6 months in. And to make a really long story short, we had a home together, we had a vehicle together, everything was in my name. And when I found out he was pregnant, it was the same day I found out that he was sleeping with his ex-wife, who he was still married. And so it was Thanksgiving Day, and he basically gave me an ultimatum. He was like, you are going to abort this baby or I'm leaving. And so I basically told him, like, there's the door, you can leave. And he left, never came back. And so I literally lost everything. I couldn't afford to make the payment, the truck payment, all those things by myself. I got laid off from my job. I was a mortgage broker, and we were just out of business. So I packed up my pregnant self, my 2 kids, and moved in with my parents back to Spokane. And and then I just went into a really bad depression after I had my daughter. That's when I learned how to get on the dark web. That's a whole nother story.
I remember those days. Yes, the Silk Road or whatever. Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot to take in. I mean, goodness, so many people probably want to know. Because a lot of people probably want to know kind of where you went, because you had a lot of, like, a pretty big fan base, and you still do. And I know for y'all watching, this is hard for both of us to tell our stories and stuff. It's just something that needs to be done, because we both had, from what our stories are pretty, similar in a lot of ways, and the way that we found God, and God was always with us. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for my mom's prayers, my grandparents' prayers, my brothers, my friend, my family. I fully believe in the power of prayer and the good Lord above. So mine didn't start until, like I said, my jaw got broken, and all my 20s it was mostly opiates. I would do other stuff too. Towards the end, I was doing a lot of the stuff you were saying. I was mixing everything together, and I don't know. It's like each time I would get sober, I would be good in my mind, but it just, I have a lot of regret putting my family through everything, everything that I did, and I just never. Cause see, the thing with me, like, I know you had your childhood. My childhood was the best childhood ever. I mean, I had the best childhood ever. One of my grands was a veterinarian, and we lived behind them in the woods. My mom, my stepdad, my 3 young. Well, first it was just me and my mom. My mom and dad, they divorced when I was, I think, 5 years old. He had a lot of issues. He'd get paid and leave and not come back for days, and he would really, he had a lot of demons. You know what I mean? Super good, happy going guy, vibey, like me and everything. But he had a lot of demons that he could never fully shake. So my mom finally had enough, and she left him. And then she met my stepdad, and then they went on to have 3 younger brothers they're my half brothers, but they're my brothers. They're not, I don't, the half, all that stuff. They're my brothers. So I was Mr. Goody Two Shoes in school. I mean, I dated one girl all through school. We were a little couple that everybody knew about, oh, Clark and Sarah. And I didn't drink. I didn't smoke. I didn't do anything. I did nothing until I think my senior year. After football games, I started trying alcohol a little bit, but I never liked alcohol. It just didn't like doing that kind of stuff. I think I tried smoking devil's lettuce around that time too, but didn't really, I don't know. But then me and her broke up when I was, I think, 19. And I started partying more and more and hanging out with more and more people. We would go downtown all the time, and just the typical party people. Once my jaw got broken, I used that as, my jaw got broke. And I used that for a crutch for a long time. Well, I got hooked on pain pills because my jaw got broken. I think when I mentioned it to you, I kind of made it seem that way. And I didn't mean to, but that's what happened with me. I use that as a reason, and I blame that. But really, even had my jaw, if I'm being honest with myself, even had my jaw not gotten broken, I think I still would have wound up on the same path, maybe not as quickly because I didn't get prescribed a bunch at one time, but I think with maybe it postponed it a year, maybe is what I feel like. And so everybody was in shock, and I took it to the next level and just got so far gone and out there. It just blows my mind thinking about it, that I wasted so much time, and it's just wild.
So do you think, I have a couple questions. Do you think that, is there something in your like lineage, like did your dad, your dad's dad, your mom, your mom's, did somebody in your like bloodline have these struggles, or is there, are
Yeah.
you like one? Yeah.
Yeah. My dad did. My granddad, he had a problem with alcohol for a short period of time, but no, it was just, as far as I know, it's my dad's. No, see, that's where I struggle at, is because a lot of these treatment places will say, well, it's a disease, or it's this, or it's that. And then you got the whole, well, if you're an addict or alcoholic, then you're going to be one forever. And we already talked about that. I don't believe in that statement. Like a guy commented the other day, he said, yeah, I've been an alcoholic for 23 years, sober for 23 years, but I'm still be alcoholic. And I was like, I don't believe that, dude. You don't. The power of our words, like it says in the Bible, the tongue can speak death or life. Speak life to yourself. Talk. You've got to. You have. If you don't, you're not. You just. The chances of making it are very slim if you speak negative and you speak death constantly.
The part about it being a disease, I was just talking to someone else about that. I believe that it is, in a sense, that if it's in your bloodline, if you know, like my dad, I don't know if my dad's dad did it all, but if it's in your bloodline, that's something that like Jesus needs to take care of, because it will continue to get passed down through generation through generation through generation. It's a curse on your bloodline that has to be broken. So I don't believe that you give power to that until you make the choice to use. And then I believe that you kind of don't have
activate it. Kind of activates or something.
Exactly. Yeah. It's only a disease if you give it power.
Yes,
so exactly. If you are someone that, you know, you're in this boat and your parents have it, but you know, it goes up and down the line, then, you know, you've got to take authority over that. And that's something that the blood of Jesus can do. So,
amen. That's exactly
that
right.
The other question I had was, do you feel like, was there something you were trying to escape from when you were using? Were you going through something? Because a lot of times that's why people use, is it's not for the high, it's for the escape. I know for me it was the escape. So wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, you know, whenever me and her broke up, like 3 or 4 year relationship, we broke up. That's when I started partying, but I wasn't really, when I say partying, I just mean going to the club and, you know, the bars, but I was always the DD anyway. I was always, so I don't know about that. Now I know after I had a good long 10-year stint, and the last time that I had my worst run was a story that is pretty wild. So I was dating this other girl for, I think we were together for three years or something like that. We had moved down to Savannah, Georgia, and she had an eating disorder, so she wouldn't eat a lot. She always felt like she was fat. We argued a lot and stuff, but I did love her very, very much, you know, and I really it was one of those toxic relationships that you get in, and once you're in for a while, you're kind of like, oh crap, and you don't know how to get out of it. But like I just wanted to make things work, so I kept trying. One day, the very end of it, I went to work and I came back home, and she wasn't with us anymore. We had gotten an argument that morning about, I forgot what it was. It was something dumb. But the last thing I said to her was, well, F you too then. And I slammed the door and I left. That's the last thing I said to her. And I texted her, I think at lunchtime, didn't get a response, which I thought was weird. I almost left work right then, but I didn't. I waited till 4:00, and so I got home. On the way home, I stopped by Arby's back when I was still eating fast food, because that was her favorite food. So I got her Arby's, and I think I even got her like a little card and some little flowers or something, just from just little gas station flowers. I get home and knock on the door, and I was finding my keys, and we were living in an apartment and nobody came to the door. So I opened the door and all the lights were off, and it was eerily quiet in the apartment. And I knew she was there. And so I was kind of like, what's going on? So I walked straight down the hallway, and I get closer to our bedroom, and I see like her feet were on the floor. as if she was sitting on the edge of the bed pretty much. And so I got closer and I still saw her. She was laid back in the bed. And I mean, she wasn't here anymore, but she was like frozen in a seizure position with her eyes open and her mouth open. And so I just dropped everything I had in my hands and just kind of panicked, didn't know what to do. And I shook her and was like, come back. And she didn't come back. So I ran and got the neighbors who were both doctors, and they came in there and they checked her pulse, and she had been gone for hours and hours. To this day, I can't eat anything food wise, especially meat. If it's a little bit cold, if it's not very, very warm, I can't do it, because I tried to give her CPR, but it wasn't doing any good, And so I ran and got them, and they checked her pulse, and I said, well, can we do anything? She said, what do I do? Do I do CPR? And they said, yeah, you can try. But they had this look like, oh man, they knew that it wasn't bringing her back. So after that, my mom and my grandmother actually drove all the way down to Savannah. They drove 2.5 hours. Man, I missed them very, very. Oh, I missed them so much. So they drove all the way down there, and we went and stayed at a little hotel, I think a mile away. And then we got up next morning, came back to the apartment, went up there, and I don't know if I even went inside. I don't even think I did. And we just left because my mom wound up coming back down with her friend to get all of my stuff, because I couldn't go back in that apartment. But so with all that long story out of the way, sorry, I probably just jumbled all that. We got back. So I moved back in with my grandparents, and yeah, that's when I started. Yeah, I started really heavily using and methadone clinic and Xanax and all that stuff. And yeah, that sent me. And after that happened, that's when I woke up in the back of the ambulance probably 3 separate times that year. Didn't mean to. I just did too much, and would wake up and. So, and that was, I fully believe that was God that didn't let me. I've always felt as if I was meant for something just huge in my life, not for popularity or for money. I was meant to help people.
Yep, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's a story right there.
Sadly, I had something very similar happen right before I went to go film. So I don't know if you want me to share it or not, but
well, go ahead. If you want to share, hey, I'm sure we're all here for you. We've all got you back. So you go right ahead, girl.
Yeah, we did it. I shared about what was going on a little bit on social media when it happened, just because I didn't know who else to turn to. But it was like 2 weeks before I went to go film Naked and Afraid. This guy that I was like kind of seeing / he was my roommate. He took his life in my home.
Oh,
yeah, we got into a pretty bad argument. I left to go to Seattle to pick up a friend from the airport, and my last text his last text to me was, I'll talk to you when you're done being angry at me. And I didn't respond. And then my brother called like 5 or 6 hours later and said, well, Greg shot himself. And so same deal. My parents drove up, and like I couldn't be in the house, and I left for a period of time. And then I went to go film the show. So that was pretty crazy. So like going on to the show, dog tags, I was telling the story about Greg. We were making the whole thing about veteran suicide. And how it works when you go and film a show is they come up with several different stories with different beats, right? They're like, well, we can portray it like this, we can portray it like this, or like this. They didn't like the one about veteran suicide, so they cut all the stuff out about Greg. And I like honestly processed everything I was going through on camera. Like you just watched me go through the motions, like the stages of grief, where I'm like, screw him, and then I'm like bawling, and then I'm like happy, and then I was a mess, dude. And they edited all of it out. And it's like when I made it out of the show or of the challenge by myself, they actually walk up and like put his dog tags around my neck, and I just come apart. And I'm on the plane going home, and I'm like, dude, this is gonna be so powerful, like for veterans, and for those
Yeah. What?
I did all of it out, and and I didn't know that they were going to do that. So we're at my premiere party, I'm throwing back shots, and then I'm watching the episode, and everything's not there. So then I had the coming apart of all centuries. I'm like, sobbing, crying, complete mess, just blacked out drunk as usual. And it was bad. And I actually like kind of put Discovery on blast for it. And I'm pretty sure they won't work with me anymore because of the fact that I put them on blast, which is fine. I've
Well,
done seasons. It's fine. But
yeah, it's
like I said,
definitely
just
fine.
being honest
I'm
about
sure
like what
anybody will support you.
because there was so much going on that no one knew.
That's
So,
crazy.
so yeah, I'm so sorry that you went through that. I definitely I know to a degree how that feels, and like no wonder you struggled the way that you did. That's a lot. That's a lot to unpack. That's a lot to carry, and I'm sure you share a lot of the blame for that. And like I 100% take the blame for what happened, and that's something I'm going to continue to carry. Um, I need Jesus to heal me from that.
So I did for a while because I was like, well, dang, that's the last. So that's the last thing I said to her, was I forgot what it was. We had argued the night before about something stupid, and then the next morning I was leaving and she was in the kitchen. I was like, all right, see you later. Went to give her a little side hug because I knew we had been arguing, and she just kind of pulled away. And I said, well, F you too then. And walked
Yeah.
out and slammed the door. So ever since then, and I always tell everybody, and a couple of my friends have told me that they actually live by this too. Your last words that you say to people, like, don't go to bed angry with your spouse. Don't go to bed angry with a friend. Don't do it because it doesn't. Your mom, your dad, your brother, just call them. If you haven't, if it's somebody you want to call and talk to, just pick the phone up and do it. Don't
Yeah.
wait because like that, it can happen. So I live
There,
my life by that. I always watch your tongue.
yeah, there is no regret like leaving things ugly and then that person is gone. There's no regret in the world like that.
Yeah, because you
So,
can't. There's nothing you can. Nothing you can do. I mean, it just yeah. So that took a while for me to I guess find forgiveness with that and all that stuff. It's definitely a road, definitely a different road to take. But I don't know. I
yeah.
used to try to not get pity from it, but like I said, not, and I don't want to say I milked it or anything because that was pretty, it's pretty rough. But I don't know. I didn't. Finally, one day when I went to treatment the last time, and after that, I just decided because the place I went to is a little place, it's not far from where I'm from in Georgia, and it's faith based and everything. And I remember the first time I ever went there, the first time we walked in, you could just feel I had instant cold chills, just full body goosebumps, and I could just the old man that started the place. He's a Reverend Key is his name. Everybody called him Rev, like REV. He's probably 5'2", little bitty short guy, and he walked around scooting around. That was a man of God. I tell you what, when you see him, he just glowed. I mean, amazing, amazing. And the first time I saw him, and I walked into the church with my grandparents. We were, checking the place out, and I just knew right then that is where I needed to be. And yeah,
So that was the last time in treatment. That's when you got it right.
I went in the very end of 2019, and I'd gotten a DUI right before that. Oh yeah, what got me to treatment was I was passed out in the drive-through at McDonald's. I was so out of it, and the workers had to come out and push me through the line, and were like, "Just wait here," because people that worked there knew my mom, and they all knew each other, and they were like, they said, "Just sit here, just stay in this parking spot, don't leave." And I kind of came to because it was with the downers, with the benzos. I came to, and I drove away, and I wound up rear-ending somebody, and so thankful they didn't get hurt or anything. But that's what once my vehicle was totaled, that's when I pretty much had no choice and I had to go to treatment. Yeah, that was I'll tell more stories about that later on, I guess. Yeah, so I went to treatment then, and I got out on I think New Year's Day. I think is when I left, and I found a job because I'm a welder, pipe fitter, industrial construction. So the money always paid really good, 30 something dollars an hour. Five, six, $700 a week per diem. So you're looking, about a $2,000 paycheck every week. So that's what I did, and that's why I love doing it for the money, but I didn't love it because I was passionate about it. But I went to treatment that last time and got out. Went back on the road working again, and it wasn't long, and I came back home for something, and some reason I decided to make a phone call to somebody I hadn't talked to in a while, and went and bought some pills and Xanax, and I took them. This is probably 4 months after I got out of treatment. That last time, I just randomly just said, "Oh, I've been sober for 4 months. Yeah, I can do this." So I got some Xanax and I took them, and it was lunchtime, and all of a sudden, I'm eating a cheeseburger in the hotel room, and then I come to, and I'm running off the road on some random dirt road about 45 minutes away, and I don't know where I went for those 12 hours. That's crazy. But that was after that. That was when my mind, and I got that wound up being my fourth DUI, which a fourth DUI in Georgia, I think in most states, is a felony. So after that, that was a little bit of a wake up call. And after that, it just slowly got better and better. And I met my wife in the beginning of 2021 when I was in Washington. We met on a little swiping app. And I remember my mom telling me, she said, "Clark, this is going to be your year. This is the year that everything changes. I just know it's going to be great. I just feel it in my heart." My mom was always my number one fan, always. And it was. That was the year. 2021 was the year that everything really blossomed, I guess, for me, is that because I met her and we didn't get to hang out until I moved to Tennessee. So I left that job. I went all the way back to Georgia, and I got a call to go to Nashville. So I'm headed to Nashville, and she texted me and said, "Hey, I want to see you before I leave. When you come back up here to Washington?" I knew right then she was going to say she was moving to Tennessee. So I said, "What do you mean before you leave?" She said, "I just got transferred to the Fort Campbell military base, which is right above Nashville." I said, "Oh my goodness, I'm headed to Nashville to work right now." She said, "Well, it must be meant to be." And I was like, "Yeah, it must be." And sure enough, we hung out, and a few weeks later, got married. 58 days later, had thyroid cancer, so I had my thyroid taken out the following day.
So you must have got pain meds for that surgery, right?
No, actually, yeah. They gave me. I had like Motrin and Tylenol and all that, and we decided. So they gave me stuff in the hospital, right? And they sent me home with some 5 milligrams, like 5 milligram, which isn't anything. So I decided, I guess, that I didn't want to take that. And I know it sounds so crazy because I'll put some of the pictures up in it. Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, it's pretty cut. My whole thyroid came out. I had to have a little drain tube and all that stuff. Well, no, I think the drain tube was a year later. I had all my lymph nodes taken out because they had cancer in those and them as well. But yeah, I decided not to take any pain meds when I got home, and it was not easy. It wasn't easy. I guess they had me so doped up on everything while I was there, and I stayed there for a couple of days after. It was really tight and sensitive, and I had to, I couldn't really do much. If anything pulled on it, if I went to pick something up, I couldn't do any of that. So that part was not easy at all, but it was. I'm scared if I ever take a pain pill again, it'll turn that switch on, like we were talking about, the activator switch. I really feel like if I do that, then that switch will get turned on, and then it's just going to be game over again. And I just foresee losing everything that I've worked so hard to build. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, what does the Bible say about like when you come out of it and then you go back, it's like 7 times worse every time.
Yes, it is. And
like
it is.
God returning to his vomit.
Yeah, exactly. So as soon as you start back, I mean, you can be clean for a year and a half. As soon as I would start back, I could take pain pills for 7 days, 10 days, maybe. That's it. Too late. I would be stuck all over again. And it's the physical part of the opiates, ones like that. The physical dependency is what people don't realize. So it's not easy. You can't. Well, I don't understand why he just don't take them. Well, yeah, I get that. I kind of get that now, but at the same time, it's not that easy just to stop. You can't just stop taking them.
You can't. And so this is something I learned in treatment. They did a study on the cadaver of an addict, a cadaver of a non-addict. They looked at the part in each brain, the part of the brain called impulse control.
Yeah.
That part of the brain in the addict was not even there. So there's something to be said about that, right? So when you make the choice, obviously what I was always told during treatment was you have control over the first use. After that, like you've already lost control. And so it's not just a matter of, well, just don't do it anymore. It's you don't physically have that part of your brain that allows you to stop.
Yeah.
And without divine intervention, it's hopeless. It's honestly hopeless.
It's really not.
You're doing it the old fashioned way. like
you can try to do it by yourself, and I hope somebody listening actually doesn't. If y'all are stuck right now, I really hope y'all reach out to us, and I'll do whatever I can to help anybody, because I could not do it by myself. I tried and tried and tried. I tried every way possible by myself. Open your Bible sounds so generic. Get like a little daily devotional, morning meditational books, and it gives you topics for the day and Bible verses, and you can kind of go over, oh, that's what this right here means. Okay. And it kind of helps. Listen, go on YouTube, go on Spotify, and just type, just listen to little daily devotional with anything, Proverbs, Romans. All Romans was one of the main ones that I used to listen to and read whenever I was in treatment.
I do that every single morning. I do it for my kids. I do it for myself, for my husband. Like you have to do it. And I
So
know a lot of people
as your
like,
husband know my wife, she's never done any drugs or anything. Has your husband, so you're married now, he's never done any of that kind of stuff either, has he?
he's never even smoked weed. Like he is the epitome of like little
That
goody
is
two
so cool, dude. Opposites attract, right? We both, like you and me, the
now.
lives we
I mean,
live,
I
we're
raised
not
them.
proud of them. Looking the lives they live, that's incredible that they came
It's
into our
funny. Like
lives.
I want to tell him stories sometimes, and I just think it's too much for him to process.
Yeah, yeah.
He can't fathom me ever being in that life. He can't fathom me being in a jail cell. He can't, like the other stories I still have to tell you. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's how my wife is. She just says, I just can't see you like that. I'm like, well, baby,
Right?
yeah, I
But you have all your teeth. I'm like, oh
yeah,
no, back. You can't see them.
yeah. Well, they're here. Yeah, they're good. Yeah, you can't tell.
Yeah.
That's it's crazy how life takes you. Where life takes you, because you can plan for so many things in my situation anyway, and in life in general. You can plan. I want to have to do it this way. What I'm saying is, don't expect things to be a certain way. If something goes the other way, or something unexpected happens, then just trust the plan, because if you're on the right path and you're doing it with pure intentions, then God knows your heart for sure, 1,000%. So I fully believe that anytime you do things with pure of heart intentions, what do you think?
I do 100%. And I know a lot of people listening, like they don't believe in the Lord. They don't know where to start. And the Bible says so clearly, if you seek me, you will find me. So truly seek him. Just it's a simple prayer. Just Lord, if Jesus, whatever if you are real, show me and mean that, because there's power in your words again. So just ask him to show you and watch what he
Yes.
does, because I promise you he will show up. If you want to find him, he does not lie, and that's what his
Yeah,
word says.
that's
So
right. Yep.
start,
That's
all you got to do is
literally,
start, because
yep.
he's
That's
faithful. He's faithful, and he will come through every time.
my mom passed away too. I'll tell that story next time, but she passed away 2 years ago. And, I think about her often. And here lately, I've been thinking about her a little more. And there's a song by Dina Carter called Strawberry Wine that always comes on. I mean, it would come on several times a day for a long time. It didn't matter where I was listening to music, in the truck, on my radio, on my Bluetooth, my phone. It didn't matter. It would come on. That song Strawberry Wine. Well, this morning, we went to the town, and it's always whenever we're talking about something life changing and talking about our show, as what it was. And that song Strawberry Wine came on, and I
No
just
way.
started, my eyes just teared up, and I just sat there, and I was, oh my goodness. And yeah, I about broke down right there in the truck. And it was yeah, everything's going to be a-okay. And what we're wanting to do, everybody, is we want to help as many people as we can. And we're very new to this, but we just want to share our story and just try to lead as many people, to God, because there's so many people that are just so lost. Some things you have to, when they say walk by faith, not by sight. Some things you're going to have questions about the Bible. Well, what about this right here? What about that? You think they're telling the truth, or the Bible was written by man, so man can change things? And no, there's historical evidence of so many things, from the flood
Mhm.
to all the battles and all that. We've got this little book. I don't have it laying over here, but I've been showing my 9-year-old and stuff like that. It's pretty interesting stuff. And so if you're like a person of science, and you want rock solid proof, there's I'll bring a better portfolio to show y'all next time.
You can't. There's too many things that have happened, and even just the way the Bible was written. There's been no other book series where in the beginning they prophesied about a Messiah coming chronologically throughout every book. The Messiah comes. No other book in history has done that. It's what, 66 books, and it's accurate from all the way through, and they're not all written by the same person. So there's no other. It was written by the Holy Spirit. Yes, a man wrote it, but it was the Holy Spirit speaking through that person.
Led the way. Yes, led the way.
Yeah, but we would appreciate if everyone would let us know in the comments, like, what you want us to talk about, what you want to hear. If there's anything we can touch base on, you can reach out to us.
We've also got we've got to walk through the door. He'll hold it open. So anything, any kind of, whatever y'all have, leave it in the comments. Let us know in the comments how long you have, or, just anything you want us to touch on. We're ready. We're going to have a lot of people coming on, a lot of familiar faces that everyone knows, that have been through a lot of the same things or similar, stories of addiction and stuff like that. We're going to be bringing on. And the main thing is we want to get the word out, and we just want to help as many people as we can. I think, bottom line. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And even if you're not sober, we do not sit in judgment of you.
Oh yeah. Even if you're not, exactly.
People that aren't sober too, because there is a way out, and I was there not too long ago. So
it's almost more important to talk to them. Really, it's more important. It's cool to hear people's stories and listen, but speaking to people. So yes, I retract all that, everybody. Reach out to us. If you're struggling, just leave a comment, just a simple comment. Reach out, shoot us some messages and everything. And, we'll come up with something on how to help people. This is going to be something really, really big, and it's going to grow into something, a massive network, to where we're all going to be able to help each other and everything. It's not just going to be some videos we're putting on YouTube. This is going to be a global scale helping people.
And it doesn't even have to be about drugs. You're struggling with depression, you're struggling with anything. We've walked through so many places in our lives that only God could have let us out of. So
that's right.
If there's anything that you want to reach out about, we're here.